Okay, gang, here we are. Welcome back. I'm going to get started here. The last episode, I had removed the bed and calves from everything. Now we got the two frames. So I'm going to start with the back ends on both these, get these swapped out so I can have the right back end attached to the right frame. Gonna have to demob this one a little bit, remove some stuff to get to everything. But we'll keep checking in as we go and show you the progress. All right, continuing on. Of course, the front end's off that. Now we need to get the front end off the quad cab long bed. I'll swap out the front and rear front ends so I can have the front end I want on part of the frame that I want. So obviously got a little bit of work ahead of us here. Not a lot engine wise to take care of. Most of it was disconnected, of course, when we took the cab off. Just some body stuff. Transfer case is the point where we're gonna start separating some stuff. So I'm gonna take the transfer case off, separate it, separate the front drive line there from the front end. And then the plan is to keep the engine and the transmission in one piece together and move it off the side. Just so you know, I did order a new clutch for this. So I literally got a new clutch. I don't remember the model number of it. It was a single disc, a bigger aftermarket clutch. But as you can see, you know, I kind of have some upgrades which make this engine a little bit better than just stock. And literally anywhere I'm going, whether it's down the freeway or just driving down the road, if I step on it, it breaks free from the clutch. The clutch doesn't have enough pressure to keep everything engaged, so it's like burning the clutch every time you step on the gas and you want to rod on it. So we got a new South Bend dual disc, which is pretty much already here, I think. It's supposed to be delivered today, but hasn't shown up yet, but no big deal. We'll put that bad boy in here once everything is off to the side. So another of the upgrades I'm going to be doing is I have some ARB head studs. I've never replaced the head studs after upgrading the engine, so I am actually going to be replacing the head studs, and I'll show a little video on that, even though it's probably not totally recommended the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to replace them with the head in place, and we'll hope for the best, but I'll go over that later on. Anyway, we're going to get this stuff separated, pull everything aside, get it set off so I can get the front end swapped around. And then once the front ends are swapped, I got the right front ends with the right parts that I want, we're going to dive into the frame. And in that I will get a little more detail, because a lot of questions people have are how far above this cut, this factory splice here, do you go up and make your cut to splice it in to your mega cab frame to get the right distance. So we're going to cover that. That's one of the biggest questions I think most people have, is the distance. And you know, obviously I've already answered the question of what kind of frame splice you're going to do at the factory stuff, or you're going to do something over the back wheel, which others do. I think either way is good and fine, however you want to do it. This is the way I'm going to do it, because I have the parts to do it this way. Hey, here we go. Welcome back. Just got done taking the engine out of the other frame. I've already got all the front and rear ends swapped on everything, and we'll just let you take a look here. And there you are. So front and rear end swapped on both frames. This here is the Mega Cab frame. There is the engine, transmission, transfer case all pulled in one shot. Make it easy to work on. These wood blocks there holding this frame. I'm going to start on the front section on the frame separation. I'm not even going to bother putting this front end back in here because I have no use for it except maybe to sell it. And then here is the quad cab frame with all the front and rear ends from the Mega Cab. So anyway, I just got this out, and I'm gonna get this engine sitting down on some stands, and then it's time to get to work on the frame. So continue to stand by and watch, and we will keep you posted. Got the front end cut on both. So here you can see the factory seam on the front of the Mega Cab. So this is the midsection here, and here is the front section from the quad cab. So you see here, I haven't cut this section off yet for the splice to fit in there. I just square cut it off there, made it a quick and easy cut, and I got less stuff in my way as I go ahead and make these cuts down here and clean that all up and get it ready to slide right into there. And here you can see the quad cab, cut it off there, and there's the front section of the frame clear over there, and there's the front end. There we go. So next step, just clean this front end up so I can get it ready to slide in to the middle section there, get it all squared up and get it tacked and welded up. All right, on to the next part. Well, we are back. So we got both ends all cleaned up, ground down, stuff taken care of. Now I got some little cuts in here, going a little deep. I'll probably just fill those in, a little bit of weld, grind it back down, just to make sure I don't have any problems. But once that's done, we're basically just gonna start sliding these two sections of the frame together. Make sure everything's kind of level and even and squared, cross squared, all that fun stuff, and get her tacked up real good. And we'll have the front half and the middle section done. Then all that will remain is the back half. So let's get back to it. And we're back. So we've got the front half of the frame installed, all measured out. I've just got some little welds on here now and hold it in place, and I'm going to start taking out the back half. Didn't want to weld everything up yet because once I get everything assembled, just to make sure, even though I'm pretty confident that everything's going to fit right, I will end up just setting the bed and the cab on to make sure everything is lining up and going to bolt in place like it's supposed to. Anyway, this is where we're going to get next. When I get this cut and separated, and we're going to get the long bed section put in, and I will get back with you and show you the progress once we get there. Getting ready to start on this second half of the frame with the cutting. Just wanted to cover something real quick with you. So cutting out these welds and whatnot, I've done now 4 of them, and both styles. One where I want to keep this section, and the other where I want to keep the internal section. After doing both, I found the easiest method, honestly, is to kind of just cut the metal close so I can move the frame away and then work on the rest of the welds, grinding them down and making cuts, and maybe even making cuts inside the tube just to break them loose a lot easier and get rid of that piece inside. So on this section here, we want to keep the bigger expanded section here, and we don't really care about this section of the frame, so I'm definitely gonna probably just cut real close, cut it out. I'll probably use my torch like I did the other ones and burn out the top of this little section right there. completely, because I'll have a whole new section to weld to when I insert the section from the frame. Let's go over to the long big section of the frame that we're going to put in. So measuring distances, just to make sure that your last body mount lines up with the next one on the other frame over here, about 26 inches. I'm going to go a little long just to make sure I don't have any issues or anything, and I'll cut it down as needed. And I'll give you a final measurement kind of once I get it fit in there. And then also this section here, what I'm going to do is I'll probably notch the corners a little bit, take out all the material, bend them down in there a little bit, weld it back up, just so it'll slide in to the expanded section like this a little easier. I didn't have any problem at all on that last section when we put the frame together over here. It's actually slid right in. So it always helps to clean everything up and polish it up before you slide it in there. But I actually had pulled it in too far and had to actually push it back out, maneuver it back and forth to finally get my measurements square where they're supposed to be. So anyway, just a little info on that. And then the last section here, talk about real quick, will be the mount here for the carrier bearing. I'll probably cut that off and set it aside. I'm not too worried about location yet because there's a couple different things you can do when this is all together. You can actually have your main drive line extended to approximately 20 inches that you'll need, or you can actually have your drive line here for your carrier bearing actually extended, which is a smaller piece. I'm thinking I might go that direction versus having an entire drive line made for a longer section, which would probably save me some money. So anyway, we're going to get started, and we'll get back with you when we get this all separated. Well, here we are. I took a still shot of the frame here. I didn't get good video after I got it all together. Facing some weather problems. We're getting close to the end of the season here in Alaska, so I wanted to kind of go over exactly what I did during this process. So here we have the front section from the quad cab long bed, the middle section from the mega cab, and then this is the rear section of the quad cab long bed. Here is the back section of the mega cab. So for this front section, which is obviously more than most of you will be doing if you're just making a long bed mega cab, as you're aware, I had that bent frame that was on the mega cab, so I had to cut that other section out and swap them out. Here they are all tacked up together. So for this section, all I did was just took measurements on my body mounts, distances center to center. I also took some measurements cross square from there to there and there to there, just to make sure everything was lining up, measuring up like it should. Slid those sections on after they're all cleaned up. I got it tacked in place really well, and that was the front half. Here's the carrier bearing mount that was on the back of the mega bed rear section. Cut that off just to make life easier, and I was going to have to adjust it anyway. Like I mentioned before, I am probably going to go with the option of extending the short drive shaft with the carrier bearing versus making an even longer rear drive line as we move forward. So for the measurements on this section here, now let's mark this up real quick. I'll let you take a look. Okay, so for me, what I did is I took my measurements before I separated the rear section of the mega cab, of the body mounts, distances between those two. So I know what they would be the same and what I had to measure into. when I put the new section on. I also center punched on the frame itself, right up here in the center of the frame at these mounts, so I could also take measurements, just cross squaring in different spots, here to there, and of course took my measurements from here to there and so on. For me, I ended up my measurement to the front side of this center hole here to the back of this body mount on both sides of the truck was 3 feet and 1/4 inch. So I knew that's where I needed to be. And for this section here, I actually cut it off really long at 31 inches from the other section of the frame, the middle section and the rear section of the quad cab long bed, just to make sure I had enough to play with. But as I got it in there close, got it ready, I ended up from the front of this rear body mount frame or bracket to my cut there was 26 inches. Definitely more than you really need, but like I had mentioned before, I cut it about 2 inches back on every corner, and bent the front end in and tapered it in, welded it back up, just to help it slide in a little bit easier. And this section here, your expanded section of the frame that this slides into at that factory splice, is about 4 inches. So with a tapered front end, the additional 2 inches in here, I had no problem getting my measurements there to there. Now you don't have to cut this down. You would be perfectly safe to do it at 25 or 24 inches and cut it there and not bend it in and get everything to match up like you want to. This is just the path that I chose to take on this. The only thing I would really recommend is that if you've got die grinders or anything else on the inside of your expanded section there, I would definitely clean that out very, very well. You're going to have rust and other gunk inside that frame, and you don't want to have to fight this. So definitely clean the inside out very, very, very good. And then the same with this. This is before I did it, but I think I went it back about 8 or 9 inches here and just really cleaned the outside, got off all this undercoat and everything else, ground and sand it down nice and pretty and polished. And don't be afraid to take a little extra material, especially off the front section there. I mean, the frame itself is only 1/4 inch thick material, so I'm not saying take it down an 1/8 of an inch or anything, or even a 1/16. But it doesn't hurt to just really clean this down and grind it down a little bit, just to help yourself as you slide this in, because it will start to get tight as you get it closer to the end of this pocket here. So there you have it. I mean, overall you need about 20 inches extension of this part of the frame to keep with the rear section to slide it together to get your measurements. So you need a minimum, I would say, of 24 inches there to there to make sure once it's slotted inside the expanded section at the frame splice or the factory splice that you have enough material going into the next section of frame and you will still meet your measurements for whatever you have when you're measuring. So there you have it. Those are the measurements I used. That's how I came to get mine all lined up and set up. And then once I got that all put together there, I just tacked it up fairly tough and hard like I did this one here, because I didn't want to weld it out full yet, and put the body and the cab on it. Just for probably peace of mind. I knew in my heart everything was going to line up, but I like to double check. So I mounted the bed and the frame on, everything mounted up perfectly, no problems. I was able to get all my bolts through all the body mounts for the frame and for the cab and the bed. And then the one advantage to this and not welding it up solid too is you might have a little bit of wiggle, and that can also help you out if you just want to look down the sides of your truck and look at your body lines, make sure everything's looking straight and then lining up. And once you got that in place, you can finish tacking it up pretty hard. So I'll show you here. This is what it looks like when I put everything back together with the cab and the bed. Got the body and bed and everything mounted on the new frame, and it's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with it. I just threw a fender on there real quick. It's not bolted down or anything. But yeah, now that I know everything lines up and works, the rest is going to be just tedious stuff. Wiring. I'm going to break this down again into the frame, get the frame all cleaned up and painted. So I got to get these doors lined up and everything, and the cab work done over here. So these are replacement doors and fender on this side. But as you can see, looking pretty good. Pretty happy with it. So anyway, that'll be about it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll keep you posted as I keep working on stuff.